I knew something was wrong the second the doorknob refused to turn. Not stuck, not swollen from rain, held, as if someone on the other side had planted their feet and leaned their full weight against the wood. I'm 74. My hands shake when they're cold. My knees creak like old floorboards. But my mind is still sharp enough to know the difference between a stubborn hinge and a deliberate hand. I pushed again. Nothing. Then I felt it, a faint vibration through the panel. Metal on metal. Nails being driven home. I didn't scream. At my age, screaming wastes breath, and breath is currency. The house had already begun to breathe differently. The usual small sounds, the refrigerator hum, the soft tick of the grandfather clock in the hall, the sigh of the furnace, had gone still. In their place was something heavier, the sour, chemical bite of smoke that doesn't belong in a bedroom. I went to the window. The old double-hung sash fought me the way it always does, paint layers thick as history, but the lock turned. Before I shoved it open, I looked back. A thin gray ribbon was sliding under the bottom of the door. It moved with purpose. Smoke always tells the truth. I grabbed the oak chair from my vanity, the one my late husband Henry bought me in 1983, because he said a lady should have something pretty to sit on while she puts on her earrings. Its legs were never meant for violence. I lifted it anyway, swung it like a woman half my age, and shattered the glass. The first blow spiderwebbed the pane. The second punched a hole. The third sent a rain of shards onto the flower bed 3 feet below. Cold February air rushed in, carrying the real roar of flames chewing through the hallway. I sat on the sill, swung my legs over, and let myself drop. The landing jarred my hips, but nothing broke. I straightened up, brushing glass from my sleeves, and looked across the moonlit lawn. There she was. Claire, my only child, 48 years old, standing beside the rhododendrons with her phone raised, red recording light glowing like a demon's eye, one hand half lifted as if she'd meant to run toward me, but thought better of it. She didn't move. She didn't call out, "Mom!" She didn't even blink. Behind me, orange light bloomed in the broken window. Smoke poured out in thick, rolling clouds. Sirens were already wailing in the distance, growing louder, closer. Claire lowered the phone a fraction, just enough for the floodlights from the first fire truck to catch her face. Not terror, not relief. Annoyance. As if I had just ruined a carefully rehearsed scene. I took one slow step toward her. The damp grass soaked through my slippers. "You're out," she said finally. Voice flat. Surprised. Irritated. I didn't answer. At 74, you learn the power of silence. It fills spaces words only rattle in. The first fire truck screeched to a halt. Red lights washed over us both. Firefighters spilled out, shouting, dragging hoses. One ran toward me. "Ma'am, are you injured?" "I'm fine," I said. My voice didn't shake. I was inside. The bedroom door was nailed shut from the outside. Window was my only way. The firefighter's eyes flicked to Claire. Her hands were trembling now, just slightly. She hid them behind her back. Claire stepped forward with a practiced sob. "Mom's confused. She's been tired. The door probably just stuck. She panicked." Stuck doors don't have brand new 16-penny nails driven through them at an angle, I said quietly. The firefighter looked between us, his radio crackling on his shoulder. He had a fire to fight. He moved on. Claire's mask slipped another inch. The captain approached later, soot on his mustache, sweat cutting channels down his cheeks. "Mrs. Whitmore, we'll need to see that door when it's safe." "You will," I said. He studied me for a long moment, expecting hysteria, finding none. "You okay to stand here?" "I've stood through worse," I told him. Behind him, the orange glow in my bedroom window began to fade under torrents of water. Claire watched it die with something close to morning. I watched her. And in that moment, with smoke still curling from my hair and the cold Oregon night pressing against my skin, I understood with perfect clarity. I was never meant to be standing here at all. They carried my bedroom door out an hour later, blackened but intact, like a corpse on a stretcher. 3 bright, shining males gleamed where the fire hadn't reached, driven in from the hallway side, angled downward so the person inside could never pull them free. The captain crouched beside it on the wet grass. Even through his thick gloves, he traced the heads carefully. "These are new," he said. "Hardware store fresh, hammered within the last few hours." Claire stood 20 feet away, arms wrapped tight around herself, pretending to shiver. The night wasn't that cold. Travis, her boyfriend of 6 years, the one who never quite met my eyes, had arrived in a hurry, tie askew. He whispered something furious. She hissed back. The captain rose. "Mrs. Whitmore, were you alone in the house?" "I was," I said. "Claire told me to rest, said she'd lock up, then she left. Not long after, I smelled smoke." He absorbed that without expression. "Would you speak to the arson investigator?" "Now?" I asked. "If you're able." "I've waited 74 years to tell the truth. I can spare 10 more minutes." Claire's head snapped toward me. For the first time, real fear flickered across her face. They set me up in the back of a fire department SUV, blanket around my shoulders, a styrofoam cup of coffee I didn't drink. The investigator was tall, polite, tired. He introduced himself, but the names slid past me. Names don't matter when you're confessing the worst night of your life. I told him everything. Calmly, precisely, the way you recite a recipe you've made 1,000 times. When I reached the part about Claire filming instead of helping, his pen stopped moving. "She was recording the fire?" "Yes." "Not calling 911? "No." "Not shouting for you?" "No." He clicked the pen once. "Any reason your daughter might benefit financially from your death?" I thought of the conversations over the last 2 years. "Mom, you're not safe alone. Mom, the house is too big for you. Mom, the insurance money could pay for a nice assisted living place. And we'd finally fix the roof on our house." I told him. He wrote it all down. Claire watched from the sidewalk as they loaded the door into an evidence van. She looked smaller suddenly, like someone who had bet everything on a single card and just seen the dealer flip it over. Travis pulled her away, arguing in sharp whispers. I stayed until the last ember was drowned. Then I took a cab to the Riverside Motel on Highway 18, paid cash for a week, and sat on the lumpy bed in room 12 with the smell of smoke still woven into my hair. I did not cry. I was too busy becoming someone new. The Riverside Motel smelled of bleach and old carpet, but it was quiet, and the door locked from the inside with a deadbolt that hadn't been forced in years. That was enough. I sat on the edge of the bed fully dressed, shoes still on, glass cuts stinging under makeshift bandages I'd made from a washcloth. The television stayed dark. I didn't need noise. I needed the space to listen to everything I had refused to hear for decades. Claire had always been the difficult one. Even as a little girl, she wanted what she wanted when she wanted it. Henry used to laugh and call it spirit. I called it something else, but I swallowed the word because mothers are supposed to smooth edges, not sharpen them. After Henry died, Claire became the only family I had left. She moved back to Willow Creek to take care of me. That was the story she told everyone. In reality, she moved into the guest room, started paying my bills so I wouldn't have to worry, and slowly, carefully, began treating my house like a bank account with an expiration date. I let her. Grief makes you polite. I pulled the old photograph from my purse, Henry in front of our repair shop, squinting into the sun. I whispered to him the way widows do when no one is listening. You'd have seen it sooner. You always sought people clear. The heater rattled like loose teeth. I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Claire's face in the red glow of the phone, annoyed that I had survived. At 3:17 a.m., someone knocked. Soft. Hesitant. Mrs. Whittemore? A man's voice. It's Investigator Brooks. I brought soup. I opened the door on the chain. He held a paper bag and a thermos. No badge visible, just kindness in tired eyes. I know it's late, but you didn't eat. Thought you might need something warm before tomorrow. I let him in far enough to hand me the bag. Chicken noodle. Still hot. He didn't linger. See you at 9, he said, and left. I ate half the soup. It tasted like salt and mercy. When morning came, gray light leaked around the curtains. I showered, dressed in the same smoky clothes, and took a cab to the bank before the lobby even opened. The manager, Paul Jennings, had known me since 1978. He met me at the side door. Safe deposit boxes are this way, Nora. The vault smelled of metal and old paper. I opened mine and took out every folder I had guarded like a dragon. The deed to the house, solely in my name. The paid-off life insurance policy. The sale documents from the shop. $487,000 that Claire believed had dribbled away on medical bills. It hadn't. It was in a trust she didn't know existed. Paul watched me stack everything into a leather satchel. You sure you don't want me to hold these here? He asked. No, I said. Some things a woman needs to carry herself. Next stop, Richard Harlan's law office on Maple Street. He cleared his morning the moment his secretary told him who was on the line. Richard had represented Henry and me for 40 years. He stood when I entered. No pity, just respect. Sit, Nora. Start from the beginning. I did. When I finished, the room was silent except for the tick of his grandfather clock. Your daughter tried to murder you for insurance money, he said flatly. Yes. He didn't flinch. We're updating everything today. Power of attorney, medical directive, will, trust amendments, and we're filing for an emergency protective order. Claire will not come within 500 feet of you without a deputy present. I signed where he pointed. My hand didn't shake once. When it was done, he slid the new will across the desk. Claire's name had been replaced by Sophie's, my 19-year-old granddaughter who still answered my calls and brought me daisies for no reason. Any regrets? Richard asked. Only that I waited this long. Outside, the February wind cut sharp off the river, but I felt it on my skin like freedom.
I sat on a bench outside the courthouse, collar turned up against the cold, when Sophie found me. She was running, coat flapping, cheeks red from more than wind. "Grandma!" She dropped beside me and wrapped her arms around my neck like she was 10 again. I felt her tremble. "I heard this morning," she whispered. "Mom said you had some kind of episode, that you were imagining things. But I knew." She pulled back, eyes wet. "I knew she was lying." Sophie had always been the soft place in a hard family. Claire called her naive. I called her oxygen. "I'm okay," I said. "You're not, but you will be." She reached into her pocket and produced her phone. "She am sorry. I shouldn't have looked, but Mom leaves it on the counter when she showers." She showed me the text thread with Travis. Travis: "Everything's set?" Claire: "Bedroom door is ready. Nails in the top drawer. Start the fire in the hall linen closet. Old rags and paint thinner." Travis: "Insurance guy said accidental death doubles the payout." Claire: "Just make sure she's asleep. I'll be outside filming, discovering it. We'll be heroes who tried to save her." The messages went on. Dates, times, even a screenshot of the life insurance beneficiary page, changed to Claire 6 months ago without my knowledge. I handed the phone back. My stomach didn't turn, it simply settled into stone. Sophie's voice cracked. "I didn't want to believe my own mother could—" "She isn't your mother right now," I said. "She's someone who forgot what love is supposed to cost." Sophie wiped her face with her sleeve. "What happens now? Now the truth gets its turn." That afternoon the detective called. They had matched Travis's fingerprints to the hammer found in my living room. A neighbor's Ring camera caught Claire carrying a gas can into the house at 6:42 p.m. while I was napping, exactly as planned. They were bringing them in for questioning. I asked only one thing: "Will Sophie have to testify?" "Eventually," he said gently, "but not today." I hung up and looked at my granddaughter, curled on the other end of the motel couch, knees to chest. "You don't have to choose between us," I told her. "I already did," she said. "I choose the grandma who still makes me hot chocolate with extra marshmallows. The rest, they chose something else." Night fell early in February. Sophie stayed until 10, then kissed my cheek and promised to come back tomorrow. When she left, I locked the door, slid the chain, and for the first time in years, slept without dreaming of footsteps in the hallway. They came the next evening. I heard the car door slam, then the frantic knocking. "Mom, open up! We know you're in there." I opened the door 6 inches, chain still on. Claire looked like she hadn't slept. Hair wild, eyes red, no makeup. Travis loomed behind her, shifting his weight like a man who wanted to run. "Let us in," Claire demanded. "No." Her mouth fell open. She honestly hadn't expected refusal. "This is insane. They're saying arson, attempted murder. They took our phones, Mom. Do you know what that means?" "I do." "You have to tell them you were confused. Smoke inhalation does things to memory." "I remember every nail," I said. Claire's face twisted. "You're destroying our lives over a misunderstanding." "There is no misunderstanding," I said. "Only consequences." Travis tried the reasonable voice. "Mrs. Whitmore, maybe we can all just—" I looked at him until he stopped talking. Claire leaned closer, voice dropping to the whisper she used when she wanted something. If you retract the statement, we can still fix this. The insurance will pay. We'll get you a nice condo. You'll never have to worry again."
I studied my daughter, the child I'd rocked to sleep, bandaged knees, cheered at graduation, and felt nothing but the cold clarity of distance. "You plan to murder me for money," I said quietly. "There is no we left to fix." Her mask shattered. "You selfish old woman, after everything I've done for you." "Everything you've done," I repeated, "was for yourself." She grabbed the door frame. "I'm begging you." "You're demanding," I corrected. "There's a difference." I closed the door, locked it, slid the chain. On the other side, Claire screamed, pounded, cursed. Travis dragged her away. Car doors slammed, tires squealed. I stood in the sudden silence and realized my heart wasn't racing. It was steady, stronger than it had been in years. I brewed tea with shaking hands, not from fear, but from the sheer force of finally drawing a line. The formal charges came faster than anyone expected. Attempted murder in the first degree, arson in the first degree, insurance fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy. Richard Harlan sat across from me in the rental house I'd moved into on Cedar Street, reading the document aloud like it was the weather report. "They're not offering bail," he said. "Too much evidence. Fingerprints, video, texts, the neighbor's camera, your statement. It's airtight." I nodded. The tea in my cup had gone cold. "Soapy will need counseling," I said. "She'll have it. I've already arranged a trust disbursement for that exact purpose." He slid the new will across the table again. I signed the last page for the third time this week. "Anything else?" he asked. "Make sure the house comes to Sophie free and clear. No mortgage, no liens. I don't want Claire's debt touching her future." Done. When he left, I walked through the little rental, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, peeling linoleum, and felt the first stirrings of something like peace. Outside, February rain tapped the windows like gentle fingers. I opened the front door and let it in. The restoration crew started in March. I visited every day, sitting in the same wobbly lawn chair, watching them strip away charred wood and replace it with new. Sophie brought sandwiches and sat with me. One afternoon, the foreman showed me the original cedar beams beneath the smoke damage. "These bones are solid, Mrs. Whitmore. House wants to live." "So do I," I said. They rebuilt the bedroom first. New door, new window, new paint, the color of pale sunrise. When the crew broke for lunch, Sophie and I walked through the empty rooms. Our footsteps echoed. "It smells like hope in here," she said. "It smells like second chances," I corrected. She slipped her hand into mine. "I'm proud of you, Grandma. I'm proud of us." That night, I slept in the house for the first time since the fire, on a cot in the living room, just to listen. The walls didn't creak with menace anymore. They creaked with memory, and memory no longer frightened me. The preliminary hearing was in April. Claire wore an orange jumpsuit 2 sizes too big. She had lost weight. Her hair was dull. When they brought her in, her eyes searched the gallery and found me. For 1 second, the little girl I'd raised flickered across her face, scared, confused, wanting Mommy to make it better. Then the mask slammed back down. Hate. The prosecutor laid out the evidence like a hand of cards he knew would win. Texts, videos, the hammer, the nails, my calm, unshaken testimony. Claire's public defender tried to paint me as a confused elderly woman. The judge wasn't buying. Sophie held my hand the entire time. When it was over and they led Claire away, my daughter screamed over her shoulder, "You'll die alone, you bitter old hag."
Sophie squeezed tighter. "No, she won't," she whispered. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. I didn't answer. I just walked into the spring sunlight with my granddaughter beside me and felt 74 going on 40.
Claire took a plea in July to avoid trial. 25 years. Travis got 20. The day the judge read the sentence, Sophie and I planted lavender along the front walk of the rebuilt house. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. When the last plant was in the ground, Sophie wiped dirt on her jeans and grinned. "Welcome home, Grandma." That night, I hung Henry's photograph back above the fireplace. I opened every window and let the river wind blow through. Then I sat on the porch with sweet tea and listened to the cicadas. For the first time in years, the night sounded like safety. A year later, almost to the day, I turned 75. The house glowed in the August evening light, fresh cream paint, new blue door, window boxes spilling petunias. Sophie had moved into the guest room to finish community college nearby. We cooked dinner together most nights, arguing over how much garlic is too much garlic, and laughing like the world had never tried to burn us down. Claire sent one letter from prison. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Some chapters you close by never reading the epilogue. On my birthday, Sophie baked a lopsided chocolate cake and invited Richard Harlan, Investigator Brooks, retired now, and the restoration foreman who had saved my beams. We sat on the porch while fireflies blinked across the yard. Brooks raised his glass of lemonade. "To Nora Whitmore, the strongest woman I ever met." I smiled. "I'm not strong. I'm just finished being quiet." Later, when everyone had gone and the house settled around me like an old friend, I walked to the new bedroom. The door was simple pine, no carvings, no history yet. I placed my hand on it and felt the solid truth of wood that had never been nailed shut. Then I stepped inside, turned off the light, and slept deeper than I had in decades. If you're reading this and someone has been telling you your story doesn't matter, that your space is too big, your voice too small, your life just a stepping stone to their convenience, listen to an old woman who learned the hard way. You are allowed to take up room. You are allowed to lock your own doors. You are allowed to survive. And if you ever need proof that it's possible, come sit on my porch in Willow Creek. I'll make you tea, and I'll show you the lavender that grew where someone once tried to bury me. The door is open, but only for those who knock with love. For the rest, it is closed, and it will stay that way.